Well, good morning, everyone. This is the Road Biker. Today's November 5, 2015, and it's a very cool day here in southern Connecticut, but it's promising to warm up to around 50 degrees, even 52 degrees sometime today. So for December in southern New England, that's pretty good. So I'm going to take a short ride this morning. I want to talk about my bike computer, which is a Sigma model 1200 WL. WL stands for wireless, which means there's no reason to run a connection between the display portion of the computer and the censoring portion of the computer. Anyway, the 1200 model computer comes in two variations. As I said, I've got the wireless, and it comes with a wire if you want that. So the primary difference between the two is the price. My model is $39.99 or something like that. And if you want the one that doesn't have the wireless feature, that's $10 cheaper. Oh boy, it's a nice morning, I'll tell you. So, let's talk about the bike computer. This particular one that I have has 12 separate functions, and what the functions do is capture different statistics for you. And I'll see if I can remember all of them off the top of my head. Obviously, the first thing that your bike computer will do for you is tell you how fast you're going. It also will tell you how far you've gone on either a trip or a total amount. So that'll fix the odometer. Tells you how long you've been riding, both on a trip basis and overall. It keeps track of your average speed and your max speed. As I mentioned, it does have an odometer. There's also a clock. Tells you what time it is. There's also a temperature indicator. So it tells you quite a bit. Now the computer is configurable, so when you first get it, you need to set up, are you running in, you want to record miles per hour or kilometers, and a couple other things. Language is configurable. Waiting for this car to go by me. Whew. But all these things you can set up on your own, which is really remarkable. I mean, it's an interesting little device for the money. And the thing I like about this particular model in general is that, as I said, it calculates your average speed, and then there's a little indicator on the display that tells you whether or not, in fact, you are traveling along at your below average or on your average speed. And I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of a training aid, if you will. I'm going to take a left-hand turn up here, which you have to be a little careful because there's oncoming traffic that swings in from the other direction. So left-hand turn here. We're clear. Good deal. Now, the other thing about this device is once it's turned on, it stays on all the time. And essentially, it kind of senses when it's being used, and it starts running. Sort of. You have to, well, in my case, every time I take a ride, I reset my trip time and trip distance. And so by doing that, you're essentially letting the device know that it should be running. The second thing I've noticed is that generally when I ride, I'll ride for maybe 12 miles or so. I'll take a break. I'll take a walk, stretch my legs, stretch my neck. It just helps me take longer rides that way more comfortably. So while I'm taking a ride, what happens is the computer basically goes to sleep. Doesn't record anything. Doesn't continue clocking your time. So when I come back to the bike, generally you just have to touch one of the controls to set it off running again. Now, because it is battery powered, eventually, you're gonna have to replace the battery in it. Not a big deal. But I recently watched another video about a guy who has mentioned that when he took the battery out of his bike computer, he lost the odometer setting. Now, I don't know whether or not his particular model has the same features as this model, but when my battery dies on this, I can essentially put the odometer setting back in place. It's one of the values that you can set. So the nice thing about it is you won't lose that kind of statistic. Whew. Now, why buy a bike computer? Well, for me, I got back into biking a couple months back for exercise. And little by little, as you get more into a habit of riding or anything like that, sooner or later, you're going to ask yourself the question, how far did you go? How long did it take you to get there? What was your average speed? And what was the benefit of that exercise session that you just did? Now, when I started getting back on my bike again, I was using a hybrid bike that I had. And what I did is I actually get in my car and I drove some routes that I would take and keep track of what those routes look like in terms of distance on my car. And then I would come back and take a kind of a rough guess at how long it took me to ride that route to come up with a speed. Well, you've got all that now with a computer. And the really nice thing about it is I can go to my computer on this bike, pull up those statistics, and go to there's a number of websites that you can go to that said, okay, you want to calculate the calories that you burned, tell me how long you rode, and what's the average miles per hour that you ride. Well, guess what? All that now is in my computer, so I can calculate the calories that I burned. And I can do all that for a little device that costs less than $40. And you can do the same thing for a device less than $30 if you decide to buy something like this that is not the wireless model. But there's a lot of other benefits as well. whether you're riding with a group of people or you go out on bike rides by yourself, it's kind of a nice training aid to have along with you to give you some idea how you're doing on your bike. I may have mentioned before, I'm a recreational biker. I'm not doing any racing or anything like that. And I'm not an exercise fanatic, wondering about every intake of calorie and how many I burned for exercise programs. But whether you're a beginner in bicycling, a recreational guy like myself, sooner or later, you're going to ask yourself those questions. How am I doing on my bike? And it's fun to know. It's fun to know that. It's fun to have it. Whew. So, I thought I'd pass along my experiences with my bike computer. Let you know, if you haven't thought about buying one before, you should. Great little invention. So inexpensive. Good source of information for you. Whew. Okay. So, I wasn't going to include this little bit of information in this video because I wanted it about the bike computer. But I'm in my 10th week of riding this road bike, entry-level road bike, which I've started riding only a couple months ago, actually 10 weeks ago. And somewhere along the line of riding it, I thought, I need a target. Puppy boy. A target in terms of a mileage goal. So anyway, long story short, I'm right on the cusp of turning 1,000 miles riding this bike for 10 weeks. And the reason I know that is because I have a bike computer. So, the other thing I should mention is that there are 3 basic ways you can mount the bike computer on your bike. I'm going to be turning around here because this is going to be a short ride for me this morning. So if I continue going forward, it'll turn into a much longer ride. So the bike computer can be mounted on either the left or right side of your handlebar, left to right side of the riser, or you can actually put it on the riser as well, which is right in the middle of the bike. I prefer it left to center myself, so that's why I've installed mine. I should mention that the functions I described earlier, trip distance, trip time, all those other things, the display on the computer is very easy to read, and it always displays your miles per hour or kilometers per hour on the upper portion of the screen, and then the function that you selected on the lower part of the screen. As an example right now, hello, yeah, good doggies protecting their house. So an example right now, my display says I'm doing 16.0 miles per hour, and since I got on the bike this morning, I've done 3.77 miles, and the indicator says that I'm currently exceeding my average miles per hour. I should also mention the nice thing about this calculation of average miles per hour. I'm like 99% sure of this, but it only includes the speeds that you are maintaining whenever the clock is running. So if I am sitting at a stoplight for 5 minutes, those 5 minutes are not included in my trip time against the amount of against the distance that I travel. So therefore, your average miles per hour are purely average miles per hour based on your moving distance over time, real time. So that's great. I mean, because you can have a stopwatch or even look at your watch or whatever and have a known distance that you're going to travel, and travel that distance and come back and do your calculation yourself on your average speed. But you really want to know how fast you're riding, not how long it takes you on average to get from point A to point B. And one of the things that I really like about it is that I've discovered that my average is just a shade under 15 miles an hour for nearly 1,000 miles of riding. Now, my rides are on what I would call rolling, hilly areas, and so obviously some flats as well. But most of my rides have to deal with where I live, and where I live has rolling hills, so I'm up and down hills all the time. Right now I'm sliding down the hill doing 21 miles an hour. So in terms of the almost 15 miles an hour, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, as I said, I'm a recreational guy. And I think that's a pretty decent pace. Now, right now I'm on the flats. There's no wind. I'm just going along at a very easy pace. And I'm currently doing 17 miles an hour. So, wouldn't know that without a bike computer. So I hope this information will help others make a choice on either buying one or getting this particular model if they so choose. Point is they provide a lot of good information. It's a good training tool, and they're dirt cheap. Can't beat it. So this is the Road Biker. Thanks for coming along this morning. And we'll see you next time.